Hi, I'm Angie Sears. I'm the director of the Spirit Mountain Community Fund. For those of you who aren't familiar with us, we are the philanthropic arm of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde. The Grand Ronde tribe owns and operates Spirit Mountain Casino, and they donate 6% of casino revenue to nonprofits in Northwest Oregon through the Community Fund. Our focus is to improve the quality of life for people living in Northwest Oregon through community investments that provide lasting benefits consistent with the tribe's culture and values. The Spirit Mountain Community Fund awarded its first grants in 1997 to Life Flight and Portland Art Museum, and we're proud to say that since that time, we have given more than $92.8 million to nonprofits in Northwest Oregon. The Community Fund distributes grants to nonprofit organizations in an 11-county service area, to government agencies in Polk and Yamhill County, and to the 9 federally recognized tribes of Oregon. To be eligible for funding, you must be a 501c3 organization doing work in one of our 11 county service areas, and that includes Benton, Clackamas, Lane, Lynn, Lincoln, Marion, Multnomah, Polk, Tillamook, Washington, and Yamhill counties. We fund projects in the following 7 program areas: arts and culture, education, environmental preservation, health, historic preservation, problem gaming, and public safety. Within those 7 program areas, we have priority areas that fall under education, environmental preservation, and health. So our education priorities have a couple of subcategories. The first is Ready for School and Reading Success. And basically that encompasses programs that teach littles to transition into school and any kind of programming that focuses on reading success for youth, especially those who are falling behind or those with learning disabilities. Our next education priority area is Effective Education for All, and that's a much more broad category, and it really focuses on school-age youth, so grades 1 through 12, any kind of programming that is going to help them succeed in school with the end goal of graduation. So programs like after-school programs, tutoring programs, summer schools or summer camps, anything really that is going to keep kids on track and graduating on time. Next, environment. There are a couple of categories. The first is environmental justice, and that really focuses on air or water pollution for people in a living situation where they don't have the means to change their situation. And the next is river health. Really any kind of program that focuses on the health of our watersheds and the restoration of salmon and lamprey, as well as reducing solid waste in landfills that adversely affect the health of our rivers. Next is the health category. So we have a couple of priority areas in health. The first one is Healthy Parents, Healthy Children. The first portion of that is pre- and postnatal care. So really any kind of programming that's going to support pre- and postnatal care, as well as the overall health and well-being of children throughout the course of their lives. And then the next part of that is domestic violence and child abuse or neglect. So any kind of prevention or treatment programmings focusing on prevention, education to help break the cycle of violence. The last part of our health category is prevention and treatment programs for adverse childhood experiences and mental health programming. Valued programs focus on prevention of treatment for all people experiencing ACEs or mental health issues. And it also focuses on underlying issues such as drug and alcohol addictions, PTSD, suicide prevention, and more. So those are our priority areas. Priority funding does not mean that you will automatically receive funding for your work. It simply means that our board will pay closer attention to the projects that fall into those priority areas. If you're doing work in any of these areas, I would advise you to go to our website, thecommunityfund.com, and take a closer look at those definitions so that when you are writing your LOI or your application, you can be sure to highlight the work that you're doing in these areas. And that way, our staff can recognize that and give you the credit that you deserve. If you are not doing work in those priority areas, don't worry. We do fund all 7 program areas, and you do not need to be doing work in our priority areas to receive funding from us. We have 2 general purpose grant programs. We have small grants and large grants. Small grants, you can request up to $7,500. For large grants, you can request up to $50,000 for program requests or $100,000 for capital requests. Both small and large grants are funded quarterly, and both grants have their own grant calendar and timelines. Requests for small and large grants cannot exceed 50% of the total project budget. All of our grants are for a 12-month period. Final reports are due at the end of the 13th month. You are only allowed one grant request and one grant at a time. All projects must begin within 90 days of the start of your grant period, and we do not fund projects that have already been completed. Our grant process takes about 5 to 5.5 months from the LOI due date to the funding date. So you'll want to make sure that you go to our website and review the grant calendar to ensure you're submitting in the correct grant cycle. I do have the grant calendar up here for you, so let's go over our large grant timeline just so you get a better feel for the length of this process. Our next large grant LOI is due on April 3rd, and notifications for the next step in our process will go out around May 1st. Applications would be due on May 30th, and then notifications for funding would come out around July 24th, and the check presentation would be September 13th. And you would be expected to start your project within 90 days of that September 13th date. You would also need to have a good portion of your project left by that September 13th date to be considered eligible. I just want to provide you a little bit of contact information. I'm not going to take the time to go over all of these contacts, but the most important contact on this page is the email for all staff, and that is info@thecommunityfund.com. The best way to reach us is via email at that info address. That will go to all of our staff, and someone will get back to you as soon as possible. So that sums up our funding process. If you have further questions, please visit our website at thecommunityfund.com. I leave you by saying Hayumasi, which in our Chinook language means many thanks.